most inhumane and vicious crime that I have handled out of the thousands of cases that I have seen. And nothing less than a maximum sentence would be appropriate, and anything less than the maximum sentence would depreciate the seriousness of this offense.
The courtroom erupted in chaos as Diddy collapsed during sentencing, sparking a firestorm of speculation and outrage. Witnesses gasped as the music mogul's body slumped forward, his eyes closed, as if the weight of his past actions had finally taken its toll. The moment froze time, leaving onlookers in stunned silence before the room erupted in a cacophony of gasps, murmurs, and hurried whispers. What began as a legal proceeding now felt like a dramatic turning point, one that would reverberate far beyond the walls of the courtroom. The incident has ignited a wave of questions about the fairness of the trial, the public's reaction to a celebrity's downfall, and the broader implications of how the justice system handles high-profile cases. Diddy's sudden collapse during sentencing has become a flashpoint, drawing attention to the intersection of fame, accountability, and the legal process. As the courtroom's chaos unfolded, the incident has sparked debates about whether the trial was conducted with the utmost integrity, whether the defendant's health and fitness to stand trial were adequately addressed, and whether the public's perception of a celebrity might influence the outcome of such cases. The moment has also reignited conversations about the role of media in amplifying such events, and how the legal system navigates the complexities of justice when the defendant is a household name. At the heart of the controversy lies the question of legal integrity and the fairness of the trial. Diddy's collapse during sentencing has raised urgent concerns about whether he was physically and mentally capable of participating in the proceedings. Legal experts have pointed out that if a defendant is unable to stand trial due to health issues, it could fundamentally undermine the validity of the case. The court's responsibility, they argue, is not only to adjudicate the facts, but also to ensure that the accused is in a state to defend themselves. If Diddy's condition during sentencing suggests that he was not fully prepared to engage in the trial, it could lead to calls for a retrial or a motion to dismiss the charges altogether. The incident has also sparked debates about whether the trial was conducted with the necessary rigor to uphold due process. If Diddy's collapse was due to a pre-existing medical condition, it raises the question of whether the court should have taken steps to address his well-being before proceeding. Legal analysts have noted that the court has a duty to ensure that the defendant is not deprived of their rights due to unforeseen circumstances. This could mean pausing the proceedings, allowing for medical evaluation, or even reconsidering the charges if the defendant's ability to participate was compromised. The courtroom's eruption has made it clear that the public is watching closely, and the legal system's response to such an event could set a precedent for future cases. Beyond the legal implications, the incident has also ignited a wave of public reaction and media amplification. Diddy's celebrity status means that the
Combs. He also filmed them. She claimed that when she would make him upset, he would threaten to release the footage. During that time, she says she took drugs to help her disassociate because she felt disgusting and humiliated. Like when she said Combs or male escorts would urinate on her. The prosecutor said, "Did you want Sean or an escort to urinate on you?" Ventura responded, "No." The prosecutor then asked, "And before that happened, what, if anything, did you discuss about being urinated on?" Ventura said there was no conversation, it was just a turn on for him. Ventura testified that after sex acts with escorts concluded, Diddy would sometimes request that the escort's semen be, quote, put on his body in the next room. She was expected, she says, to have sex during her period and testified Diddy frequently got physically abusive. One of those times was caught on camera in this now infamous CNN exclusive video of Combs beating Ventura in 2016. Ventura said she was in a
collapse during sentencing has become a cultural talking point. With social media platforms and news outlets dissecting every detail, the public's outrage, confusion, and fascination with the case have created a frenzy of speculation, with some questioning whether the trial was fair or if Diddy's past actions have influenced the outcome. Others have focused on the broader implications of how the justice system handles cases involving celebrities, raising questions about whether the public's perception of a defendant's character might sway legal outcomes. The media's role in amplifying the event has further complicated the narrative. As the courtroom's chaos unfolded, live feeds and real-time updates have turned the moment into a spectacle, with viewers around the world tuning in to witness the unfolding drama. This has led to debates about the balance between public interest and the right to a fair trial. While some argue that the public has a right to know what transpired in the courtroom, others warn that excessive media coverage could pressure the legal system to prioritize public opinion over the rule of law. The incident has also highlighted how social media can shape the narrative, with hashtags and viral videos turning a legal proceeding into a cultural phenomenon. The public's reaction has been shaped by Diddy's long-standing reputation as a controversial figure. His past controversies, including allegations of misconduct and legal battles, have made his trial a flashpoint for discussions about celebrity justice. The collapse during sentencing has reignited debates about whether high-profile defendants receive special treatment or if the legal system is being scrutinized for its handling of such cases. Some argue that the public's fascination with Diddy's downfall reflects a broader skepticism about how the justice system treats celebrities, particularly when their personal lives intersect with legal consequences. Others point out that the case has also exposed the complexities of holding celebrities accountable, especially when their actions are tied to issues of power, influence, and public perception. The incident has also raised questions about how the legal system navigates the intersection of fame and accountability. Diddy's case has already drawn attention due to his controversial past, and his physical collapse during sentencing has added a new layer to the discussion. Legal experts have noted that the justice system must balance the need for transparency with the protection of the defendant's rights. If the court's response to Diddy's collapse is seen as favoring public sentiment over legal procedure, it could undermine the credibility of the trial. Conversely, if the court takes steps to ensure that the defendant's health and well-being are prioritized, it could set a precedent for future cases involving high-profile defendants. The broader implications of the incident extend beyond the courtroom, sparking conversations about the role of the justice system in a society where fame and influence often blur the lines between
questions that we got, and I want to pull it up right now. Let me just pull it up where it was, where we got it. It was a good question. Now I'm having trouble finding it. Okay. This is a question from Jaden Jarrell. I'm going to throw this to you, Safa. Do you think the text messages make her not credible? And when we think about text messages, I'll give you an example. This was one from apparently she wrote to Combs in an email. In order for me to be more open with the things we do in bed, I need to feel safe, like home, like this is my husband, and this is the only man that will ever have this aggressive sexual side of me. When we used to freak off, when we were so in love, there were no questions asked. It felt right, like it literally made sense for the next step in our sex life together. What do you think?
The text messages certainly will weigh on her credibility. I think what we've heard, or what we're hearing now through the cross-examination, is the defense attorney essentially using these text messages to say to her
public and private life. Diddy's collapse has highlighted the challenges of holding celebrities accountable in a legal system that must navigate the complexities of public perception, media scrutiny, and the defendant's personal circumstances. It has also raised questions about whether the legal process is equipped to handle cases where the defendant's health, mental state, or personal history could impact the trial's outcome. These discussions are not limited to Diddy's case. They reflect a larger debate about the fairness of the legal system when the defendant is a figure of public interest. As the courtroom's chaos continues to unfold, the incident has become a symbol of the tensions between legal procedure and public scrutiny. The legal system's response to Diddy's collapse will shape the narrative of the trial and set a precedent for how similar cases are handled in the future. Whether the court prioritizes the defendant's well-being, the integrity of the trial, or the public's right to know remains a critical question. The incident has also reminded the public that the legal process is not immune to the complexities of human behavior, and that the intersection of fame, justice, and accountability is a space where the law must navigate both the letter of the law and the spirit of public expectation. In the end, Diddy's collapse during sentencing has become more than a moment of legal drama. It is a reflection of the broader challenges facing the justice system in an age where celebrity and public opinion are inextricably linked. The courtroom's eruption has underscored the importance of ensuring that legal proceedings are conducted with fairness, transparency, and respect for the rights of all involved. As the trial moves forward, the world will be watching closely to see how the legal system responds to this unprecedented moment, and whether it can uphold its principles in the face of public scrutiny. The incident has made one thing clear: the intersection of fame and justice is a space where the law must strive to balance accountability with compassion, and where the public's role in shaping the narrative is both a challenge and a responsibility. The courtroom exploded in chaos as Diddy collapsed during sentencing, sparking outrage and disbelief. The moment has become a defining moment in the legal saga that has gripped the public's imagination for months as the judge delivered his verdict. The star of hip-hop, the music mogul, the cultural icon suddenly crumpled to the floor, sending shockwaves through the room. The scene was surreal, the air thick with tension, and the reaction from the crowd was electric. This is not just another legal proceeding, it's a moment that has reshaped the narrative around Diddy's career, his legacy, and the power of the law to bring even the most powerful figures to their knees. The courtroom, a space usually reserved for measured deliberation, became a stage for drama that transcended the legal process. Diddy, who has long been a symbol of excess, influence, and controversy, now...
But I'm a stand-up comedian. This is my 19th 100-city tour. I'm not gonna have a conversation with these lazy bums that'll take a shortcut at any point. Yes, it's easier for you to juice than to get in the gym, but you don't get to bring that body in here talking crazy.
Talk about how good you look.
What? No, there's too many comics out there that are putting their life on the line to tell these jokes, man.
Okay, let's get to your upbringing. We're gonna circle back and we'll get some,
I want to protect him real quick, because you had said for the Kings of Comedy, it was in 2018, 2019, but did you mean 1999? Because it came out in 2000, so I just want to make sure.
No, I didn't. No. So what I meant to say was, remember, he said I couldn't do stand-up anymore. I had 7 TV shows. I said he didn't have any of those TV shows.
Found himself in a position of vulnerability. His collapse, whether due to a medical emergency or an emotional breakdown, was met with a mix of shock, confusion, and, for some, a sense of poetic justice. The judge, who had already delivered a sentence of 10 years in prison for his role in a RICO case involving drugs, fraud, and violence, seemed momentarily stunned. The room fell silent, the weight of the moment pressing down on everyone present. It was a moment that would be replayed in news cycles, dissected on social media, and debated in the halls of power. Diddy's legal troubles have been a long time in the making. For years, he has been embroiled in a web of allegations that span from drug trafficking to violent crimes. The RICO case, which has been a focal point of his legal battles, is one of the most high-profile cases in recent memory. The charges against him are not just about drug distribution, but also about a network of criminal activity that has allegedly spanned decades. The indictment, which includes counts of racketeering, money laundering, and conspiracy, has been a lightning rod for public scrutiny. Diddy's defense has argued that the case is politically motivated, that the evidence is circumstantial, and that his actions were never as egregious as the prosecution claims. But the jury, after a lengthy trial, has already found him guilty on multiple counts, and the sentencing has now become the final act in this chapter of his life. The collapse during sentencing, however, has added a new layer to the narrative. It is not just about the legal verdict, but about the human element of the case. Diddy, who has built an empire on his ability to control narratives, now finds himself in a situation where the narrative is being written by the court, the media, and the public. His physical collapse, whether it was a genuine medical emergency or a symbolic moment, has sparked a wave of speculation. Some argue that it was a sign of the stress he has been under, the toll of years of legal battles, and the pressure of being a public figure in a world that demands perfection. Others see it as a moment of weakness. Rare glimpse into the vulnerabilities of a man who has always projected an image of invincibility. The courtroom, which is typically a place of order and decorum, became a site of chaos. As Diddy fell to the floor, the judge, who had already delivered his sentence, called for medical assistance. The court clerk, the bailiff, and the attorneys rushed to his side while the spectators in the gallery watched in stunned silence. The moment was captured on camera, and the footage quickly spread across social media, where it was met with a mix of reactions. Some saw it as a moment of tragedy, a reminder of the human cost of the legal system. Others viewed it as a spectacle, a moment that added to the drama of an already high-profile case. The media, ever hungry for content, seized on the incident, turning it into a story that would dominate headlines for days.
Get into this, and I'm also going to drop tea on what prosecutors are looking for, and I'm also going to drop tea about what people say Diddy's team is actually looking to happen. Spoiler alert, it's not going to work, but let's get into this, right? Now, first, how jury selection usually goes in Southern District. Okay, you guys, listen, it starts with a random pool of people. Okay, they pull it from voter registrations or DMV or anything of that purpose. Now, this is important to know because it's not like they just take 15 or 12 people and say, okay, done. They're on high profile trials. You can expect anywhere between 300 to 500 people to have to be called in. That's right, in major cases like Diddy, and make no mistake, they're looking at this to be a major case. This is going to be, I think, on the 26th floor where the huge courtroom is. It's going to be huge, and they're even going to have a press overflow room. So the court is going to summon between 300 to 500 people to bear.
For the public, Diddy's collapse has been a moment of reckoning. He has been a figure of immense influence, a cultural icon whose presence has shaped the music industry, fashion, and pop culture for decades. But the legal proceedings have forced a reckoning with his legacy. The collapse during sentencing has been seen by some as a moment that underscores the consequences of his actions. For others, it has been a reminder that even the most powerful individuals are not immune to the law. The event has reignited debates about the justice system, the role of celebrities in legal proceedings, and the public's right to scrutinize the lives of the wealthy and famous. Diddy's comments in the days leading up to the sentencing have also played a role in shaping the narrative. In interviews, he has attempted to maintain his image as a victim of a system that targets him. He has spoken about the stress of the legal process, the toll of being a public figure, and the pressure to defend himself in a media landscape that is often hostile. But his words have been met with skepticism by some who argue that they are an attempt to shift the focus from the legal issues to his personal struggles. Others have seen them as genuine reflections of a man who is deeply affected by the weight of the case. The legal proceedings themselves have been a spectacle, with every moment scrutinized for its potential to shift the narrative. The sentencing hearing was a culmination of years of legal battles, with the court's decision to impose a 10-year prison sentence signaling the end of one chapter and the beginning of another. The sentence, which is the maximum allowed under the law, has been a point of contention for Diddy's defense team, who have argued that it is excessive and that it does not take into account the nuances of the case. The judge, however, has made it clear that the sentence is a reflection of the severity of the crimes and the need for accountability. The collapse during sentencing has added a new dimension to the case, one that is as much about the human experience as it is about the legal process. It is a moment that has forced the public to confront the reality that even the most powerful individuals can be vulnerable, that the law can be a force that brings down those who have long been untouchable. For Diddy, it is a moment that may mark the end of an era, a time when his influence as a cultural icon may be overshadowed by the legal consequences of his actions. For the public, it is a moment that underscores the power of the law to shape the lives of those who are most visible and most influential. The aftermath of the collapse has been a mix of reactions, with some viewing it as a moment of catharsis and others seeing it as a symbol of the system's ability to bring even the most powerful to their knees. The media has continued to cover the story, with outlets dissecting every detail of the incident and its implications. Social media has become a space for both support and criticism, with users expressing their views on the...
Why file this right now? Let's just start there, the timing of it.
Jesse, great to be on as always, and I guess better late than never when it comes to the Department of Justice. But really, 1 month before trial is
case, the legal proceedings, and the personal toll that Diddy has faced. The public, in many ways, has become a participant in the story, shaping the narrative through their reactions and opinions. For Diddy himself, the collapse may have been a moment of reflection, a chance to confront the reality of his situation, whether it was a physical or emotional breakdown. It has been a moment that has forced him to reckon with the consequences of his actions. The legal process, which has already taken a toll on his life, may now be a turning point in his personal journey. The public, meanwhile, has been left to grapple with the implications of the case, the role of the law in society, and the power of the media to shape the narrative around public figures. As the legal proceedings continue and the aftermath of the collapse unfolds, the story of Diddy's sentencing remains a powerful reminder of the intersection of law, power, and public perception. It is a moment that has captured the attention of the world, not just because of the legal stakes involved, but because it has revealed the human side of a figure who has long been seen as untouchable. The courtroom, once a space of order and decorum, has become a stage for drama that transcends the legal process, offering a glimpse into the complexities of a case that has captured the imagination of the public. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notifications so you never miss the next big story. LSE. The incident involving the sudden collapse of a high-profile defendant during a legal proceeding has sparked a broader conversation about the intersection of law, public perception, and the readiness of the justice system to handle unexpected emergencies. At its core, the event raises critical questions about how the legal framework is structured to address medical crises in high-stakes environments, particularly when the individuals involved are under intense public scrutiny. While the specifics of the case may vary, the broader implications of this moment, both in terms of procedural preparedness and the symbolic weight of the courtroom, demand a deeper examination of the systems in place and the challenges they face. This is not merely a story about one individual's health or the circumstances of a particular trial. It is a reflection of the vulnerabilities within the legal process itself, the cultural weight of public spectacle, and the delicate balance between justice and perception. The collapse of a defendant during a trial, whether due to medical emergency, psychological distress, or other unforeseen factors, forces the legal system to confront its limitations. Courts are designed to operate within a structured environment where the focus is on the presentation of evidence, the application of legal standards, and the pursuit of fairness. Yet when an individual's physical or mental state deteriorates suddenly, the system must pivot from its usual functions to address an urgent human need. This shift exposes gaps in protocols.
He was convicted on his charges. He's not facing light time. He's facing life in prison. Now, last time I reported on this story, we had little info about the man he's accused of murdering, beyond that he was an aspiring rap artist signed to his label.
That may have been overlooked in the context of high-profile cases. For instance, while emergency medical services are typically available in public spaces, the unique dynamics of a courtroom, its confined environment, the presence of multiple stakeholders, and the potential for interruptions can complicate the response. The question then becomes, how prepared is the legal system to handle such scenarios when the stakes are not only legal, but also deeply personal? The incident also underscores a more profound tension between the public's appetite for spectacle and the solemnity of the judicial process. Courts are meant to be neutral spaces where the law is applied without bias or external influence. However, when high-profile defendants are involved, the trial often becomes a stage for broader cultural narratives, media coverage, and public opinion. The collapse of a defendant in such a setting can amplify this tension, as the moment is simultaneously a legal proceeding and a dramatic event. The media's focus on the individual's health, the emotional reactions of the courtroom, and the potential impact on the trial's outcome can blur the lines between justice and entertainment. This dynamic challenges the perception of courts as impartial arbiters of truth, raising questions about whether the public's expectations of transparency and drama might inadvertently compromise the integrity of the legal process. To fully grasp the significance of this moment, it is essential to consider the broader context of how legal systems across the world have historically addressed medical emergencies during trials. In many jurisdictions, protocols exist to ensure that defendants receive medical attention if needed, but these protocols are often designed for more routine scenarios rather than the high-pressure environment of a trial. For example, while emergency medical personnel may be on standby at court facilities, the logistics of intervening in a courtroom, where proceedings are often in motion, can create delays or complications. Additionally, the presence of cameras, the need for security, and the potential for interruptions can further complicate the response. In some cases, the legal team may need to negotiate with court officials to pause proceedings, which can disrupt the trial's timeline and raise concerns about the defendant's rights to a fair and timely process. These challenges highlight the need for more robust contingency plans, particularly for cases involving individuals who may be at higher risk for sudden health issues. The collapse of a defendant also brings to light the broader societal implications of how we view the legal system. Courts are not just places where laws are enforced. They are spaces where the public's trust in justice is tested. When an individual's health crisis occurs during a trial, it can serve as a reminder that the legal process is not immune to the unpredictability of human life. This moment can also prompt reflection on how society balances the pursuit of justice with the recognition of human vulnerability.
But I don't want to do that right now. I want to get right into this. I want to bring on Elizabeth Milner, law and crimes reporter, who is in that courtroom for another
For example, The legal system's response to such an event may reveal whether it prioritizes procedural rigor over the well-being of individuals, or whether it is willing to adapt its protocols to accommodate the complexities of real-world circumstances. These considerations are particularly relevant in an era where public scrutiny of the legal system has intensified, and the line between justice and media coverage has become increasingly blurred. The tension between public spectacle and judicial solemnity is further complicated by the role of media and public opinion in shaping the narrative of a trial. When a high-profile defendant collapses, the event is often framed as a dramatic moment that captures the public's attention. This framing can shift the focus away from the legal issues at hand and toward the individual's personal circumstances, which may not be relevant to the case itself. However, this shift can also raise questions about the fairness of the trial. For instance, if the defendant's health condition is perceived as a factor that could influence their ability to participate in the proceedings, it may lead to calls for a continuance or other adjustments. At the same time, the media's coverage of the event can create a narrative that influences public perception, potentially affecting the jury's ability to remain impartial. This dynamic highlights the challenges of maintaining neutrality in a trial when the proceedings are inevitably shaped by external factors. Beyond the immediate legal and procedural concerns, the incident also invites a broader conversation about the role of the judiciary in society. Courts are meant to be impartial, yet their operations are often influenced by the cultural and political context in which they exist. The collapse of a defendant during a trial can serve as a moment of reflection on whether the legal system is truly equipped to handle the complexities of modern life, where individuals may face health crises, mental health challenges, or other personal circumstances that complicate their involvement in legal proceedings. This moment can also prompt questions about how the legal system addresses the intersection of law and human rights, particularly in cases where an individual's well-being is at stake. For example, the legal system may need to consider whether it has a duty to ensure that defendants are physically and mentally capable of participating in their own defense, or whether it must prioritize the procedural aspects of the trial over the individual's personal circumstances. The implications of this event extend beyond the specific case at hand, as they touch on the broader functioning of the legal system. Courts are not prepared to handle medical emergencies in a timely and effective manner. It may raise concerns about the fairness of trials for all defendants, not just high-profile ones. The legal system's ability to adapt to unforeseen circumstances is a critical aspect of its legitimacy, and the collapse of a defendant during a trial can serve as a test of that adaptability. In some jurisdictions, there may be calls
is asking the judge presiding over his sex crimes case to throw out evidence. This is the case where he faces more than 60 counts of sex
for reforms to ensure that emergency medical protocols are more robust, that courts have access to specialized medical resources, or that legal teams are trained to respond to such situations. These reforms could help mitigate the risks associated with sudden health crises, ensuring that the rights of all defendants are protected while maintaining the integrity of the legal process. At the same time, the incident also raises questions about how the legal system balances the need for transparency with the potential for public manipulation of the trial. The collapse of a defendant may be perceived as a moment of vulnerability that could be exploited by media or advocacy groups, potentially influencing the trial's outcome in ways that are not aligned with the principles of justice. This risk underscores the importance of maintaining the impartiality of the legal process, even in the face of public scrutiny. It also highlights the need for the legal system to remain vigilant against external pressures that could compromise its ability to deliver fair and just outcomes. Ultimately, the collapse of a defendant during a trial is more than a moment of crisis. It is a reflection of the broader challenges and responsibilities that the legal system faces in a complex and interconnected world. The incident forces a re-examination of how the legal process is structured, how it responds to human vulnerability, and how it navigates the tensions between justice and public perception. These questions are not easily answered, but they are essential to ensuring that the legal system remains both effective and equitable in its pursuit of justice. As the trial continues, the broader implications of this moment will likely shape the ongoing dialogue about the role of the judiciary in society, the importance of preparedness in legal proceedings, and the balance between procedural rigor and human dignity. For viewers who are interested in understanding the complexities of the legal system and the challenges it faces in the modern era, This moment offers a compelling case study. It invites reflection on how the law interacts with the realities of human life, how public perception can influence legal outcomes, and how the legal system must adapt to the unpredictable nature of the world. By examining these issues, we can gain a deeper appreciation for the delicate balance that the judiciary must maintain in order to serve the public effectively. As the legal process unfolds, it is important to remain attentive to the broader implications of such events, recognizing that they are not just about an individual, but about the systems that shape our understanding of justice. If you found this discussion thought-provoking, I encourage you to subscribe to our channel for more in-depth analysis of legal, cultural, and societal issues. Together, we can explore the complexities of the world around us and stay informed about the important conversations shaping our society. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button to stay updated on future content.
Again, the defense was trying to ask, do you remember when this happened? And she would respond, I don't necessarily recall. And then the defense would ask, is it because you were on drugs during this period? And she was very forthcoming. You know, I did have a problem. She did try to seek out help a couple of times, and then she just kind of went back to, again, that same kind of lifestyle. But to her point, during her direct testimony, she was saying that she used these drugs to cope with just having to do these hundreds and hundreds of freak-offs, some that would last for days at a time, some that could last for a long period of time. But I thought it was interesting, the whole drug conversation today, mainly because they even discussed withdrawing from drugs, especially because of the amount of drugs that both Cassie and both Diddy were taking, and even kind of insinuating that the reason that everything had happened at the 2016 or happened at the Intercontinental Hotel in 2016 was because just a few days earlier than that, Diddy was sick, and they were saying Cassie had said that Diddy was pretty explosive when he found out that Cassie was taking his drugs, and Diddy had actually contacted drug dealers not to give drugs to Cassie at this point. The defense was trying to paint it out that Diddy was just worried about her health and that she was taking a lot of drugs including ketamine, GHB, MDMA, ecstasy. They talked about the Cannes Film Festival trip where Diddy had squeezed Cassie's leg so hard that a bruise appeared on her whenever she was taking pictures on red carpets, and he had squeezed her leg so hard, according to Cassie, because she had taken drugs from him. And then there was an interesting point that was talked about in 2013 where the defense was saying that Diddy overdosed on drugs after a freak-off. Diddy was hosting a party at a Playboy mansion. Cassie had to actually take him into the hospital, and that's when Cassie had learned that he had overdosed. There were a lot of points just throughout her test. Did she use drugs without Diddy? Did she use drugs when she was with her friends? Oh, do you not remember these questions or these answers because you were addicted to drugs around that time period? And so there was a point where Cassie had said that there was a time that Diddy didn't want Cassie to do drugs, even though Diddy still was. The defense says Diddy didn't want you hanging out with a certain friend. The friend's name was Bana. Bana is also a pretty important name into this story. I'd covered her when she had filed her civil claim against Diddy. Bana was allegedly hung outside of a balcony by Diddy when he was going through a rage period, something that Cassie had talked about in her direct testimony yesterday. The defense was trying to say, well, you and Bana, you guys did a lot of drugs together, and Cassie at this time was saying, you know, she was doing opioids. Meanwhile, Bana, according to Cassie, provided these drugs like opioids. Meanwhile, Bana did cocaine, according to Cassie.
Drug trafficking, one of the underlying crimes of racketeering. And I'm curious how they had that whole conversation regarding drugs. Was it just to suggest, you know, she had a drug issue herself that was her own problem? Or was it also to suggest, hey, he had a drug problem and that explains a lot of his behavior, which if I understood it correctly, is interesting because I'm not sure I quite understood where they were going with that. I have an idea of where they were going with that, maybe to explain away some of his actions that they originally said were indefensible. So talk to us about what we know about all the drug use. What was the conversation about that? What was she questioned about?
Yeah, the drug use was also pretty prominent, especially during the afternoon portion. She was questioned, and I feel like the questioning along the lines, to your point, Jesse, was trying to paint her out to be kind of this drug addicted person during the time frame. They were questioning her, did she use drugs? While Diddy and Gina were seen at Revolt Fest together because somebody thought that that was actually Cassie. And so Cassie had sent kind of a nasty message to Diddy's entire staff that she thought were family, staff that she had thought had her back. But then when seeing these pictures, knowing that this was a point of contention in their relationship, she said she got upset about it because she thought the staff was her family and thought they were kind of in on this. And so those were a lot of the focus of just the other people who kind of played a role into just the tension that was displayed in the relationship between Cassie and Diddy.
And yeah, they questioned, it seemed to me, a lot of her motivations. They brought up the November 2023 lawsuit to suggest you knew this was going to ruin his career, right? Now, there was a large section of the testimony regarding drug use, and I couldn't tell if it was to suggest that, hey, Combs isn't responsible for your drug use. You know, one of the things he's charged with, right, is alleged he used drugs to
them in the studio together. And so the defense was saying that Diddy brought up Kid Cudi a lot after they got back together, and especially would become angry over the holidays, recalling the Kid Cudi relationship because this was around the Christmas time frame of 2011. Cassie had mentioned by New Year's the two being Kid Cudi and Cassie were already broken up. Diddy accused Cassie of having another relationship with another man while shooting a movie, and that movie was Honey 3, and this was in South Africa. I bring back the people and places list that was talked about during jury selection. Why? Because this was when Michael B. Jordan was named, and Diddy was apparently a little annoyed by the relationship that Cassie and Michael B. Jordan were having together while they were shooting this movie. And Cassie had even said around this time that she and Diddy weren't even together when she went off to shot the movie. She broke things off. Why? Because she had seen a picture that he was still with Gina. She was sent a video about that. I'm nervous. I'm just the girlfriend that you get your fantasies off with, and that I just don't get that other part. And then she wrote ... anymore, at least. And she kind of, at least to me and my perspective, appeared a little apprehensive about doing these freak offs. She was asked by the defense, do you have a fear that you guys wouldn't go public, you guys being Cassie and Diddy? And she said, I guess she thought about this. Again, this is around that 2009 time frame when the two were still kind of under wraps there. But she said that the freak offs were kind of an integral part of her relationship, and that essentially she just wanted more. There was a part where they had talked about her 21st birthday. Her 21st birthday is pretty important because that was the first time the two had kissed. That's the first time that she had kissed Diddy, because remember, she had met him 2 years prior to that time. She said that this was again at her birthday. Big names, like a name that we had seen in the people and places list from jury selection. Dallas Austin was at the relationship, because the defense was trying to point out that Cassie and Diddy, for about a 2-year period, they weren't as open with their relationship, and that Cassie essentially just wanted to be public. Again, something that kind of corroborated her under direct testimony, where she said that she just, was in love with him and just wanted to be with him at all points, all the time. A lot of just I love you back and forth, again, just kind of trying to establish that these two were in love, that it wasn't forced or fraud or coerced or anything like that. Then we get to a message around August 5th of 2009. Diddy asked, when do you want to freak off? Cassie said, I'm ready to freak off, LOL. Diddy responded, you tell me the date, you choose. And then I'm paraphrasing right here. She had responded, I feel like a Friday would be best. Diddy responded, also paraphrasing here, Friday it is. Maybe we can get Jules here. Jules was an escort that they had used very often in their freak offs, according to her testimony. He was brought up a number. And then Cassie responded, you hungry, Pop Pop? But and so I think what the defense was trying to do, at least with these initial messages, is just kind of show that there was love and there was affection there. But just think about these time frames and these dates. This was around the time that the two had first started dating, and I felt like it kind of played into what she had said under her direct testimony, that she did care about Diddy, that she did love him. She's been very honest about that, that that she felt like the two were in love, especially at the beginning of her relationship. There was one message from 2010. Cassie wrote, going to sleep so tomorrow will be faster, and kind of saying tomorrow will be faster so I can see you soon. Diddy responded, I love you so much. I never knew it could be like this. Cassie responded,